Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg ditching the t-shirt and hoodie and apologizing for what he calls Facebook mistakes. He's making the rounds on Capitol Hill, far from his Silicon Valley home, and facing bipartisan scrutiny from both the White House and prominent Democrats on Capitol Hill.
I think the message I wanted to convey to him, that if we don't rein in the misuse of social media, none of us are going to have any privacy anymore.
Is he going to behave like an adult as a major corporate leader, or give me this phony baloney? What is it, hoodies and dungarees, and what is that kind of signal cell?
Joining me now, already laughing, Fox News politics editor and author of the Halftime Report, Chris Direwalt. You don't often hear the word dungarees.
No, and that's a term I use, actually. So.
I felt like it was a Chris Direwalt word.
Absolutely. Larry, all I can say is I'm glad that Larry Kudlow's back on TV.
Listen, I love his scarf and I love his sound bites. Okay, so listen, Zuckerberg was in the whole suit and tie. He's making the rounds today. We have a little bit of what he's going to say tomorrow. Just to share a snippet, he's going to say, it was my mistake and I'm sorry. I started Facebook, I run it, and I'm responsible for what happens here. This is a lot different than what I think of, like Martin Shkreli came up to the Hill. And it was
the
like
pharma bro.
That was a disaster for him.
So Facebook wants to be regulated. And so does Google, Amazon, the bigs. So what we're looking at is a market sector that's moving into maturation. We're moving into the adolescence of this. The big ones don't want the Wild West anymore, because obviously what would happen when a company has failed as thoroughly and as completely as Facebook has, competitive market forces would eventually drag them under, and they would go down and they would be replaced by somebody else. What they're looking for really is they're looking for the gentle protective custody of the federal government. That's why they spend a lot of money on lobbying. That's why they do all this PR. That's why they suck up to these politicians. And in the end, they want to create a regulatory structure that will protect them from competition. Yeah, there'll be new rules to live by, but a few $1 billion profit, everything takes the sting out.
Another one of our favorite soundbite givers on Capitol Hill, Senator John Kennedy. Here's what he's saying about it.
Well, I come in peace. I'm not interested in regulating Facebook to death.
I come in peace. I'm not going to regulate them to death. But what kind of questions do you think that, Zuckerberg's going to get tomorrow? Do you think that this is so different than the world he operates in?
Well, it is, and unfortunately for a lot of these teen titans, they have existed in this bubble. You think the bubble is thick in Washington. Can you imagine the thickness of the bubble for a Silicon Valley billionaire?
In a hoodie.
In a hoodie, who's not accustomed to these issues. But let's remember, whatever Congress does is secondary to the national discussion that we're having now anew, as our online lives, our digital lives, and our regular meat space lives merge into one stream. And people were not careful about what they did with Facebook. Facebook's biggest problem, I do believe ultimately they will be successful in getting favorable regulations from the government in time. They just have a big enough market share that I feel like they'll be able to crowd out competitors. But we have larger questions to talk to each other about and talk with ourselves about as it relates to how much do we really want to share with these people.
Yeah, and just assume they've seen it all.
Yeah.
And they've read it all. I just assume they're reading all my emails and listening to all my phone calls with Chris Direwalt. Thank you.
You bet.